Hello and welcome to NexBotix, the podcast series that actually looks to find out how automation can supercharge your business processes. So I'm here today with Peter from Poplar HARCA. Welcome, Peter. Very nice to come in to see us. So your journey started with us back in 2020, so it's been a few years now. What I really wanted to do today was just to get a real understanding of, I guess, why you went to automate the processes you did, some of the benefits that you've got from that, and I guess what automation next on the agenda for you inside Poplar. So Poplar are a housing association based in East London, sizable organisation. If we go back to the start, Peter, before when automation became a thing for you, while you were thinking about automating some processes, kind of talk me through that.
We had about 2,500 invoices a month we were struggling to process with a small team in the finance team. They were struggling to process on time.
And when you say a small team, and how many people are in the team?
4 people.
Right,
in the team.
Okay. Talk to me about those early days and the thinking behind it and what you're trying to achieve.
We've got 80 plus contractors dealing with invoices where they service over 10,000 homes. So you can imagine we've got a small team, 4 people. They were really struggling with paying those invoices. Those companies are generally local businesses that, as an organisation, our ethos is to support those local businesses, which helps them to employ local people. They help to give them trades, etc. However, they don't really have large IT departments. So processing invoice was pretty erratic. So some were paid on time, some weren't. Some were often mistakes by suppliers. But again, we just didn't have the time to deal with those problems.
Yeah. So we wanted to make it more efficient.
We wanted to ensure that those small businesses didn't struggle with cash flow. But the problem with having so many contractors of such a small size means that they don't really have large IT teams. They don't really have the ability, say, to automate their processes to integrate with our systems. But with so many moving parts in our manual process spanning across 4 systems, we struggled with, could we replace those systems? Or could we look at an alternative? And the alternative for us, and the obvious solution, was automation. It meant that we could keep our 4 existing systems, reduce the training needed by people because we were using the same systems effectively, but layer something on top. So using a bot, for example, to layer on top, that kind of reduced the cost of replacing systems, but also drove the efficiencies of how quickly we could put a solution in place.
And I guess at the time you were kind of heading up the research and development team. So was that as part of your work to actually do the research?
So as part of my role, I had to look at as the business as a whole, so not just any one department, etc., and how we could drive efficiencies. So, housing associations themselves are working on tight margins. The manual processes and the laborious tasks of repeatedly doing the same processes is wasting resources effectively. So if we can reduce that wastage of resources and redirect those to more efficient tasks, it makes much more sense for us.
So Peter, there's a lot of hype in the marketplace about automation today, and actually, will the technology deliver benefit or won't it? A lot of companies don't really understand how to deploy it. Perhaps you can talk us through the solution we delivered and how it's actually delivered some benefit inside Poplar HARCA.
To test the water, we began with a pilot focused on a small subset of our invoices.
So essentially, I guess that limited the risk. It meant you could prove some of the value before actually committing to the full solution.
Exactly. How you guys worked with us is you kind of had a dedicated team. So the dedicated team basically became like a new employee for Poplar HARCA. They joined the finance team effectively. They started to learn the processes from start to finish. So our invoice processing is effectively a contractor sends an invoice via an email. That email is picked up by the bot now, but at the time it was picked up by a human, went through the various different systems in processing and came out the other side as a payment into someone's account.
So it's quite a complex process end to end.
Yes, it's very complex. But your team came in, they sat with our team, they learned how to do that job as if they were a member of that team. Once they'd understood the intricacies and how it worked, went away, sorted out the magic behind it, the process of creating a bot. And then we started with obviously the iterative testing, pushing invoices through, seeing it works. But what we really liked was that the team were always available. They were available via phone, Teams, and there was a constant dialogue and a conversation between each party to ensure that the bots was working as it should be till we got it right.
And that's good. I think that joint engagement, that partnership kind of approach is important to get the solution delivered, because again, it's a big change for the organisation, isn't it? So, and we talk about, we make some quite big claims about the percentage throughput we might get and some of the benefits. So it'd be really interesting to see what your experience has been like. If our claims are true, let's hope they are.
Yeah, well, as I said, we started off with skepticism. The process, we saw, I think the first time we ever ran the bot, it was 50% successful. And as we said, we kept working back and forth, and we're now up to 85%, which has exceeded what we set a threshold when we started the project. So we said 70% of invoices should be processed through the robot directly without anybody intervening. And we're now at 85% of invoices being processed without any intervention from anyone. So a contractor basically sends an email to us. It goes through the process. They get paid, I believe it's the next day. Through the system, which wasn't happening before. Yeah.
And I guess that 85% is a great number. It's a number we use a lot in our kind of dialogue. And but that 15% doesn't mean to say it was a big problem. Actually, it might be a business exception. It might have been a value needed approval, or it might have been that they put the wrong amount on the invoice or something, so it didn't match in the finance system.
Yeah. What it did is it focused our team. So what happened initially, we put the bot in place, and there were lots of mistakes, but those mistakes were happening from our suppliers. So they would provide invoices with the incorrect invoice number or the wrong amount on the invoices, etc. Our team now had time to spend with talking to them to explain to them how it works. And once suppliers realised that if I do this right, it goes through straight away, they soon switched on to doing it. So I think
they get paid quicker.
Yeah, they get paid immediately, effectively. When it gets stuck, again, the team have now got time to deal with those ones that get stuck, and there isn't a backlog of that.
What about the people then inside Poplar HARCA? Because I know, reducing the amount of time people are inputting data into systems is a big thing, because it's not fun work. It's not good for the best use of a person. So did you look to change the work people are doing, reduce the workforce, or keep all the people? Because we talk about kind of augmenting the kind of workforce with the bots as opposed to replacing. So I'd just be interested in experience around that.
So that was exactly it. So those guys in the project team, when we initially set it up, we're very skeptical, and the belief was like, are these robots going to come and take our jobs? So as much assuring you can do to people, they don't until it happens in the flesh. So we've had NexBotix since 2020, so it's been 3 years, nearly 4 years now, and we haven't lost any members of staff. Those staff have been redeployed. So as I said, the invoice processing was causing a bottleneck where invoices weren't being paid on time. But what it's allowed those guys to do is work on more valuable bits of work.
Well, I guess it's more interesting work, isn't it? And that's that's what we really hope to give to people, is because people, processing invoices is quite boring, isn't it? It's not an enjoyable piece of work to do, and if we can use people's brains in a more effective way, then they're more valuable. They're going to stay in the organisation, aren't they? They're not going to leave. Recruiting people right now is a nightmare, isn't it? Costs are going through the roof. So if you can, create some happy employees, you can have a better workforce. Yeah.
We've managed to build better relationships with our suppliers, because those same employers that were dealing with stuck invoices are now effectively forming those relationships, explaining to them why things aren't working properly and how they can improve that. So we're not even hoping, we are seeing that those improvements are happening. So once you've corrected something with a supplier, they're not repeating those mistakes. And that wasn't happening before, just because we were knee deep in the sand.
Yeah. And I seem to remember something about some duplicate invoices, or quite a lot of duplicate invoices used to come through, and again, be reprocessed and not noticed, but I'm pretty sure that our system picks those up as well. So they've been eliminated as well.
So they not only pick up those invoices, they will do some of those reminders to our suppliers to let them know that actually this isn't being processed and these are the reasons why. And again, that reduces that day-to-day task that somebody else had to do and leaves them to do something much more interesting.
So all in all, a really good process to automate then.
Very much so. Yeah.
Great.
Very satisfied.
Is the one. That's good news. So I guess if we move forward then, thinking about what next for Poplar HARCA internally, and we talk about an automation first strategy, trying to help companies to think about actually what business processes can be automated inside the organisation, what's realistic to do. Kind of where are you next in terms of thinking about the next process or the next department or next part of the business? What's the thinking?
So since the success of the finance project, we've obviously had a lot of inquiries from other parts of the organisation. We kind of take it as a needs. What are the needs of the organisation? What are the needs of our residents, etc. We're currently looking at reducing our lettings time. So obviously homelessness within London and throughout the country, in fact, is a massive issue. We let properties, but that time to let a void or an empty property can take quite a while. If we can use, which we are doing, looking at using automation to reduce that time, where we often have to key information in multiple systems, provide information to residents, ask residents for the same information 3 or 4 times. We can reduce that process. We can reduce the time it takes to let our properties. We can increase our income, and we can also help to reduce that time that people are spending looking for properties, etc.
So efficiencies on multiple points there, from the resident through to you as a business as well.
Exactly.
And I guess perhaps some advice for people that might be watching this, that are thinking about embarking on some kind of automation journey. What would you say to them? What advice would you give on, I guess, where to start and whether they should automate the process?
First thing I'd say is start small. Right. You have to realise the cost benefits, and that's very difficult. So persuading the budget holders, etc. You need to make sure you've picked a project that is going to deliver some outcomes, is going to be achievable very quickly, and is going to be cost effective to your organisation.
So I guess, Peter, what was important to you in choosing a supplier for your automation solution?
So for us, it was about finding a partner that we could really work with. So we looked for an organisation we could work with that fit with our ethos as a company, but also weren't just looking at the corporate level or the director level, but worked with the end users. So our solution was really fixing a problem with the end users, with the people in the operations side of the business. So we needed to make sure that whoever we worked with could work with both sides.
What about some of the benefits of working in NexBotix?
Benefits of working with NexBotix, they feel like part of the team. As I said, the project team that worked on the invoicing, they felt like they could pick up the phone and call NexBotix when they wanted to. You guys quite easily slotted in. You joined our weekly meetings. You came to our office. It felt like you were part of our organisation. So it kind of felt seamless. And you delivered. So you gave us what we asked for. So when we asked for something, when it went wrong, because all projects go wrong, you put your hands up, you held your hands up and said, yes, we've made a mistake here, but it was resolved quickly and effortlessly, really.
That's good to hear. And we think we've got quite a unique pricing model compared to some other competitors. And what would you say about that?
Again, I think I struggle to persuade people to go for a bot. The cost of buying a bot outright is prohibitive. However, the model that you guys provide, the pay-as-you-go model, just enabled me to sell that much easily to my board, to be able to say that we could start small and we wouldn't see a massive outlay for a project, whether it worked or didn't work. Thankfully, it worked. And we were able to just continue with that model. It was effortless, really.
So that's really interesting. So it really helped with the sign-off process at board level, that we had a flexible pricing model to be able to do that. So that seems like a good place to jump off. Peter, thank you very much for your time today. It's been very insightful understanding how automation has helped Poplar HARCA. I hope you found this briefing very useful, learning how you can supercharge your business processes. There's a whole series of podcasts. Please do tune into some other ones, looking at the 5 steps to automate, looking at the technology we provide, listening to some of our other customers talking about the benefits they've had. So as always, if there's anything you want to know, please do get in contact and we'd be lovely to hear from you.